I had carbon monoxide poisoning and thought my landlord was stalking me. On the 15th of April I found a yellow post-it note in a handwriting that wasn't mine on my desk reminding me of some errands I had to do, but told literally nobody about. While odd, I chalked it up to something I did in my sleep, thinking maybe in my half-awake state I scrawled it, so it didn't appear to be my handwriting. I threw it out and thought little of it. On the 19th, I found another post-it note on the back of my desk chair in the same handwriting as the previous note, telling me to make sure I saved my documents. I was freaked out, but there were no other signs of a break-in, so I set up a webcam in my house, aimed at my desk, and used a security cam app for it to record after detecting movement. On the 28th, I woke up to find another post-it note, this one saying, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do." I immediately checked the webcams folder on my computer and found nothing from the night before, but my computer's recycling bin had been emptied, which I'm certain I did not do recently, indicating someone had noticed the webcam and deleted the files. They were just saved straight to a folder on my desktop called webcam. Today, on the 1st of May, I found another post-it note, this time on the outside of my door, with nothing written on it, and there also appeared to be post-its on many other doors in my apartment complex, all blank, in varying colors. Do I have any legal recourse here? I have no proof except for the post-its, but those are written by my pen, and on my post-it notes, so conceivably I could have faked them. Would contacting the police get me into any trouble if they can't determine an outside source for this? I just want to make sure I'm not wasting anyone's time. Should I consult my landlord? Those also living in the complex. Edit. I pulled up a letter I received from my landlord back when I moved in, and the handwriting is identical. Could this count as evidence? Update. I had co-poisoning and thought my landlord was stalking me. Thanks to everyone who sent suggestions and gave advice on how to proceed, especially to those who recommended a co-detector, because when I plugged one in the bedroom, it read at 100 ppm. Reddit comments. Seriously? You had significant, low-level co-poisoning to the point where you have a memory impairment? You need to see a neurologist as soon as possible. There's a very real possibility that you need neuropsych testing and neurocognitive rehab. Hello. I'm writing to you from the hospital. Thanks for the concern. Having not slept the night there, I actually feel tremendously better today, but yes, I'm absolutely taking every precaution. 3 months ago I started renting a condo, and it's directly over the parking garage. Since then I've always felt lightheaded, forgetful, anxious and had headaches. I've been trying so hard to narrow down what the hell is going on. Well, off to the store I go in search of a co-detector. Start documenting this if you haven't already. When did you move in? When did you first start noticing headaches? Have you ever attempted any communication with a landlord about it? And keep copies of all your medical records, every receipt, printouts of the doctor's comments, if you can get them, everything. Next step, lawyer up. Apparently, I also set up a webcam by placing it on a shelf, downloading a camera app to my phone, and making a folder on my desktop called WEBCAM, and made an iPhoto library in the folder. Better start loving yourself, because your body/brain saved its own life without your approval. You're working right now. Treat yourself to something you love, like, right now, because you're alive. If the story's true, then it's amazing. Seriously. Did it for me. Stop eating my food, geo off and buy your own. It was me, binge eating in my sleep. If there wasn't anything left to eat, I'd leave the notes. Weird thing to wake up to. I lived alone. My mom did this for years. My brother and I used to get in trouble for eating PB&J and leaving peanut butter all over the counter or the bread open. Then, my mom had to start tapering off the Ambien for another drug she needed to take. She woke up and was standing in the kitchen, over the sink, eating a PB&J. She ran up the stairs and woke me to apologize. Ambien is scary stuff. I woke up in jail. had gotten in my car in my underwear with my dog and drove to the 24-hour grocery store near my apartment at like 3 a.m. Parked right in front of the store in the far lane, cranked my radio to the maximum, and fell back asleep. Evidently they called the cops, and when an officer arrived and finally got me to open the door, I got out and took a slow motion swing at him while speaking gibberish. Luckily was only charged with public intoxication. I had not had anything to drink, no drugs other than my prescribed Ambien. Years later I noticed that they added sleepwalking or driving with no memory of the experience to the TV ads for Ambien. Had a few similar experiences. The first time I had taken it, and while waiting for it to kick in, was chatting online with my best friend. Next thing I know, I wake up in my room with that friend in my room sleeping on my floor on the fold-out couch mattress. I woke him up, and he filled me in. The short story was I eventually started saying really weird things. He thought I was drunk, and got worried, so he drove over to see what was going on. He found me in the middle of my street wrapped in a blanket wearing nothing but my underwear. You'd think this would be my last time taking it, but I continued to take it for another 4 years. But learning from my first mistake, I found that, as long as I took it and put myself to bed, I was pretty okay. A couple times I ordered pizza in my sleep, waking up to an uneaten pizza in my room. One time I was caught by a girlfriend eating raw bacon out of the fridge. But for the most part nothing crazy. Then one night I took it and laid down and woke up at my grandparents' house. My grandparents lived a few towns over, an easy 30-minute drive by car. When I woke up there, my grandparents filled me in. Turns out I had begun walking to their home. Again a 30-minute car ride. I was picked up approximately 10 minutes from their home by a nice man who had seen me walking barefoot along the side of the road. The blisters and cuts on my feet were horrific. Anyways, the man dropped me off, but stayed parked out front to make sure I made it in safely. My grandparents believe he was some sort of predator because he too was a bit out of it. When my grandparents awoke to me trying to break into their house through a window and recognized me and realized it seemed the nice man was about to follow me inside, they thanked him for his kindness, but told them they had the situation under control. They called my parents and my parents came over the next morning. I went to the doctor that day and requested to be taken off Ambien. I told him I'd rather never sleep again than do something that crazy. He said, "Oh, that's silly, why don't you try this script called trazodone? It's a good sleep aid that these things don't happen with." I was like, WTF, why didn't you try this one first? I will never forget waking up in the hospital. 5 doctors were peering down at me. Once I was alone, I got up and left, wearing only my hospital clothes. I hurt. Every muscle in my body was stiff. I did the Frankenstein walk out to the sidewalk. I want to thank the city bus driver in Phoenix, Arizona for letting me on the bus and not even asking me for fare. I swear, it felt like every muscle was sprained from head to toe, even my eyeballs. To this day, I have no idea what I did the night before, who brought me into the how I ended up in a hospital room. That was in 2009. Still haven't received a hospital bill. I still live in the same vicinity, and I'm sure I'm not being too overly paranoid when I see some street people staring at me. They recognize me. For what? I don't know. The thing that made me stop taking the meds, I woke up to an empty bank account. Sitting by the front door was a paper grocery bag with one change of clothes, a pair of underwear, a toothbrush and toothpaste, and my email inbox full of receipts for a 2-month jaunt around the West Coast, train, plane, bus, and replies from friends happy that I was coming to visit them. I was working third shift at a newspaper working as a pressman. I had such a hard time getting to sleep, my doctor gave me Ambien. He mentioned I might do some wacky stuff, but didn't really take it seriously. Flash forward a couple weeks, and I wake up standing in front of the refrigerator naked with a jug of vodka in my hands. I could hear my roommate walking up the stairs from the basement singing to himself quietly. He liked to wear headphones at night so as not disturb anyone. Anyways, I realized I had about 2 seconds to move, but it was too late. He rounded the top of the stairs, and we locked eyes. He just said sorry and turned around. I was gripped with panic and ran to my room with Odge still in hand, set it outside of my door, and jumped back in bed. Out like a light in seconds. I woke up the next morning thinking it was the craziest dream until I went to leave the room and was greeted with Odge sitting by my door. On top of that, I had found the wrappers to chocolate covered fortune cookies in bed that my GF had given me for Valentine's Day. No fortunes, just the wrappers. I ate the cookies whole. I quit taking Ambien shortly after. Good times. Comment and subscribe.